just take a nap during the show.
This is Horribly Off Topic, episode number 254. I'm Chris.
I'm Steve.
And I got that. I hit record just as you were saying. Are you tired, Steve? Are you need a little nappy?
Yeah, I mean, I had some cocktails last night, but not like an excessive amount, but just a couple is enough to give me a little
You're
bit
an
of
old man now.
Yeah, I'm an old man and I don't have carbohydrates to soak up alcohol.
Right. Good point. Nappy. I was saying it in the way that we, maybe just as Americans, or maybe the way
I don't
that
think
we
people
add
say nappy.
Well, I was
Give up the nappy dugout.
hold on. We tend to add the E sound onto things to make them sound cute, right? So, yeah, well, I was gonna say pot and potty, but that's you shit or get off the pot, right?
E.
And then pot becomes potty because we're trying to be cute for our kids, but nappy.
Is something that could be construed as racist, as Don Imus proved.
Oh, I was not going there.
Okay, not that one.
No. Nappy is a British, in terms of British English, is the name for a diaper.
Yes.
You put a nappy on the baby.
All right. So,
important to note that I probably shouldn't use nappy.
I'm sorry I said that.
Mr. Imus. WNBC.
At least says it through a character, Chris.
He does. It's been too long since I've watched that movie. I mean, I don't know if it's aged well at all, but I think it would be fun to revisit.
I mean, mid 90s Howard Stern, that was at his peak.
Yeah. I mean, it was, and I remember it being I saw that movie. Maybe we talked about this recently because we were talking about movie theaters. I saw that movie at the Route 3 cinema, even though the newer cinema was open down the street.
And I think you just went there because it was a lot easier to jerk off at the Route 3 cinema.
Yes, I really wanted to, that scene where Jenna Jameson sits on. Is it Jenna Jameson?
I don't know.
I feel like it was a adult film star of the time that does the part where she sits on the speaker while Howard, says "turn up the bass," and he. What does he even say? Does he say something?
I think he's just...
he just kind of does something with his lips. And I'm pretty sure, maybe not, maybe it was Jenna Jameson. She was in the studio showing her boobs.
Yeah.
It's funny, not funny, but it was
odd.
This morning, so I use this program, Daz 3D, to do art. It's the sort of basis for the art I've been doing on my Instagram and whatnot. And
do you use a French press to have some coffee while you drink and while you use your Daz 3D?
No, but I should use a French press if I want to complete the hipster. Are you being a hipster?
I am not. Like my wife uses the French press
while she's using Daz 3D.
No, she just likes coffee made with the French press.
Got it.
I remember we went out for before I left my old job. We went out for dinner it was lunch and then a couple of drinks afterwards. Mm-hmm. We apparently didn't do anything for the rest of the day productive. But then one of the folks that was with us ordered a coffee, and I don't think she had ever had a coffee in a French press, and they basically gave her a single-sized French press to have her coffee in. And it was like just a mini one, and then she was just like pushes the plunger down immediately, and coffee fucking goes. Coffee and grounds go everywhere.
Oh shit! No, that was not what I was doing. Okay, so I'm trying to make this story as short as possible, but basically, there's a bunch of different ways to save your characters in Daz 3D, and so I have a bunch of characters who are taken from my books, and
does Mr. Imus do their voices?
Mr. Imus does not do their voices. I don't think I have the money to pay Mr. Imus to be.
I don't imagine he's going for a lot nowadays. You might just.
I might, yeah. So there's a bunch of different ways to save things. I was saving things in a kind of inefficient way, and I've been trying to go back through and resave my characters. Well, one of my characters would not save in the new way, and I was last night and then tonight.
Would you tell us, Chris, about this New way.
I was trying to say, nobody cares, but I was trying to save the character. Basically, this involves resetting a whole bunch of dials because I'm taking what is sort of a generic...
Like a tone dial?
I'm taking what's a generic-looking human being, and I'm trying to make it look like a specific character. And I have it on the mode, which is really just they look like a mannequin because I don't want my children to walk in and see a sort of...
I think the preferred term is Personnequin.
So anyway, the
That's just gonna look weird.
there is person. Okay, it'd just be in the notes, which will be at horribly off topic.
Or that could be the show title.
I think that might be long, but we'll see.
Personnequin?
Oh, Personnequin would not be. I thought you like the whole thing. I think the preferred term is Personnequin.
Yeah, I think Personnequin is fine.
Okay. So I had it on the sort of Personnequin mode where you're not going to see any of the naughty bits because I'm sitting. My desk is right there in the main thoroughfare because
you don't want your children to see tits or dicks,
right? But as it so happened, they were getting ready to go out, and Melody stopped by and she looked at the screen and she said, and it was me mentioning boobs earlier, Jenna Jameson and the boobs. This is what got me started here. She said,
she's like, Dad, where's all the tits and dicks?
No. She's not there yet. No, she did not mention that. But she said, I think her boobs are too big.
Oh.
And then my wife happened to be sitting right there, and she goes, I agree with you. And I was like, I know. And then I went through describing a whole boring process of iteration that has happened with these characters.
And yet you're like, you just had to explain that like it takes a long time to de-jugify these ladies.
No, it does not. It takes a very short time. And in fact,
No, but you explain to them that it takes a long time to de-jugify these ladies.
I took a long time in explaining that it doesn't take a long time.
Oh.
That's what I did.
It's been such a long time.
And so shortly after they left, I actually, I looked at it again. I was like, you know what? They are absolutely right. And I tweaked some sliders. And they probably...
No. If you're going to, in like Monster Factory fashion, if you're going to be making a character, like... either end of the slider or nothing. Like
that's not you have to
either they have like triple G's or they have nothing.
No, what it is I am now I think anyway, I'm going too far down this rabbit hole. The program is great. Too many people go for ultra realism and fall short, and so they're in the uncanny valley. I go for sort of a stylized comic book, not comic booky, but like I don't know. I'm trying to think of artists. I'm like the artist that came to mind was like Boris Vallejo or Olivia or these people who did pinup art where it was obviously very much based on a real person, but it was painted. So I'm not going for ultra realism. What the fuck did I bring that? Anyway, no. You got to tweak the sliders to make the person look like they make sense. And as Aaron Nace on Flern, who's the Photoshop guru who I go to, talks about. On a first pass, I tend to go too far with everything. So I basically give myself a rule that on a second pass, I can only go half of what I did. So if a setting was at 40, it was at 40. Now I can only go as high as 20, or so on and so forth. But yeah. Anyway, so I do listen to criticisms of boob size on my characters. I just wanted people to know that.
Okay. Speaking of the Uncanny Valley, a new game just came out.
Oh, you were telling me it sounds very. I don't know what does it sound like?
It is starring Norman Reedus.
Norman. I don't know.
He is of Walking Dead fame.
It's a game starring him.
Yes.
Oh, so it's like Dana Plato in that game way back in the day.
Night Trap.
Yes, that's the last game I know of. That
well,
where,
I mean,
where an actor was.
It's motion captured. Like I think the technology started with. I think it might have been L.A. Noire, which was the crime, or I think with 1940s. crime mini series that Rockstar did, which was basically
was it a noir?
Yes.
Was it set in L.A.?
Yes.
So it was a L.A. The game was called L.A. Noir. It was aptly titled.
Yes.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that's when they started using that kind of technology. And
so
like the actor that was in L.A. Noire was one of the actors that was on Mad Men.
And I joke, I have heard of games. I know the
you've heard of games?
I've heard of games where they do motion capture and it's based on an actor, and I know they've done it a couple of times with Star Wars games because I've seen. They did it with Grand Moff Tarkin in the newest whatever prequel thing. Oh boy, I got something to share with you at some point. But yeah, so this game is starring
Norman Reedus from The Walking Dead. He's basically
is that the actor or is that the character?
That is the actor.
Okay, Norman Reedus.
So he it basically looks like him, and as Tim Rogers said, it is the Gran Turismo of walking simulators.
Okay, so can you unpack that for a little bit? I mean, I see, I laugh because I'm pretty sure I get the reference, but then I'm like, maybe I don't totally understand all the nuances of the various references in that, like Gran Turismo, walking simulator.
Okay, but basically, I think the point of the game is you are a courier.
Okay.
And
it's basically an updated version of Paperboy.
Kind of, I guess. But there's so you're basically in a post-apocalyptic world, and you are trying to get things from point A to point B.
Okay.
By walking there. And there's parts where in the review that I saw,
this is Tim Rogers' 1.5 hour video.
Yeah, it might have been longer than that. I don't know. Becky fell asleep. I watched the whole thing, but there's parts where like he is ripping off his fucking toenail, and he kept on showing that fucking part.
So and
I would cover it up every time he did it, and it was just like it didn't matter. I covered it because I had seen it so many fucking times. Yeah. It's etched into my fucking brain.
I gotta just for the person who's not. I mean, not the person. All the people not in the room. So you held up your hand. Is it like you were holding? Were you watching it on the big TV, on a laptop?
On the big TV.
So I just wanted to complete that picture. So you're sitting on the couch, and he's peeling off his toenail or whatever, and you're holding up your hand, but is that doing the trick totally?
It's my hand was in front of his foot where the toenail was being pulled off.
But you could still see the rest of the screen.
So, but like you can walk for so long in the game and then like blow out your shoes so much so that you fuck up your feet. And you have to pull off your fucking toenail.
Ugh. Why do we need to? I mean,
why does Norman Reedus have to be nude and showering in the game?
You see Wang?
I don't know if you see Wang. I saw butt or half butt cheek or something like
You're
that.
You're allowed to see butt. Dudes' butts, ladies' boobs, but the front parts typically is what you're.
Well, HBO. I mean, it's not TV. It's HBO.
Oh, sing it, sister.
Yeah. So like you can show all the dongs and bush you want on that.
But it seems like they still shy away. Do they? So you know how PG-13 movie only gets so many F-bomb. Do they even get an F-bomb? They get shit.
I think they get one.
They get one F-bomb if they want to use it. So does HBO only get so many shots of full frontal before they're not allowed to?
There's no FCC regulation on cable television. So any cable station could show all the dicks that they want. It's just that
they could show a full-on X-rated, triple X-rated feature if they wanted to.
I'd have to look into it, but I think maybe it's just that you're not going to have any fucking advertisers if all you're doing is showing dicks on CNN.
Well, I mean, why wouldn't you have fucking advertisers?
Well, I mean, gosh darn advertisers.
Okay, yeah, good point. But. Okay, and this ties into something I was going to bring up. I don't want to go away from Death Stranding yet.
But Gran Turismo. Oh, so going back to that part of it, Gran Turismo was the. I mean,
It's a racing game.
It is a racing game, and so basically, it was the
Because at
it was
first-
the racing game that like sort of raised the bar of realistic racing.
At
I mean, like
first-
Mario Kart, I think is the champion of kart racing games.
Right.
But and I don't think it will ever be surpassed by any other like There's been Sonic and Nitro, or whatever the fucking. Bandicoot, Crash Bandicoot, Crash Racing. They've all tried. They've all failed. And
well, when the iPhone came out, there was or when the first games came out for iPhone way back in the day, there was one that, in hindsight, I realized was very much just trying to rip off Mario Kart. But of course, they didn't have Nintendo IP or anything.
Well, now that there's finally a Mario
there is
Kart,
Mario Kart.
I don't like it. It's like every time Nintendo does a mobile game, I'm like. Aside from Pokemon, which is kind of not them. It was whatever.
It's Niantic or Niantic?
Whatever.
Yeah.
Shallow and Niantic.
The reason I wanted you to explain the Gran Turismo and walking simulator, still want you to walking simulator.
Well, I mean, watch Tim Rogers' video if you want it explained in great detail.
Is that actually a category of game?
I think people are slagging on it because it seems to be a walking simulator, but there's a lot of fucking story that goes along with it. I personally am not interested because of the Uncanny Valley thing. It may be motion captures of real people, but there's still like that deadness in their eyes that I managed to play Grand Theft Auto 5, but like that was the last game that is super realistic, but not quite there, that I was able to play. And it's just like Spider-Man, I think, is a little bit more cartoony as far as like the way that the characters are modeled. Yeah. So it seems a little bit better.
And that's kind of where I feel like,
because it's based on a comic book, I mean, it would make sense that they would be a little bit more cartoony.
And that one makes more sense. Where I really am very interested in this Star Wars one that's coming out. God, what the fuck is it called? I don't know. But when they show the cutscenes of it, there is a supporting character, a woman of color, who's talking, and every time they kind of, maybe it looks better in the game, but every time they show her in the sort of cutscenes that I've seen, that is getting too close to the Uncanny Valley for me, and I wish that they would just pull it a little bit more in the stylized direction, and I think they'd be better off. And so I don't know. The reason that I wanted you to explain the metaphor, the comparison, was I did initially have in my head the racing game, but then I was like, wait, is that the one with Clint Eastwood? Because I started thinking of Gran Torino, and it was like, Chris, you're an idiot. Let's have him explain it just to make sure that you're not imagining.
No, that's just a movie about an old man being racist against Asians, and has nothing to do with racing.
No.
Or maybe it does. I don't know. I've seen the movie, but I don't remember any.
I don't remember any. I remember maybe Clint Eastwood standing off to one side of the poster. That's about it.
Cool.
It was mostly gray and blue or some shit. I don't know.
It was fine. It was a movie.
So I didn't see the movie. I was just saying some shit in terms of the poster. Like, it was a very lazy sort of, Anyway, but HBO, there was a thing when you're talking about that and whether or not they could play X-rated titles. I recently resubscribed to HBO with the intent, and we can get into eventually.
The intent of watching the Watchmen, I guess.
Watchmen, and Kaylee really wants to watch his Dark Materials,
which is the Golden Compass.
Golden Compass, yeah, and it's that one. I checked it out. It's rated TV-14. I think we talked about that last week.
Yeah, or the week before. I'm not sure.
Yeah, so. But anyway, so I was on there today,
and you're like, oh, there's not any dicks. Cool, I can let my daughter watch this.
No. She actually went on without talking to me, because on the Apple TV app you can preview the first episodes of things. So I hadn't yet set HBO up, but she could still play the first episode. and she skimmed through some of it, and I
I think that what they're trying to call them nowadays is webisodes.
And I
Just like this, I mean, I think we should start, instead of calling this episode 254, it should be webisode.
Webisode 254.
Yeah, I think people will respond to it better because
yeah.
Like people like talking about the World Wide Web and surfing
they
it.
do. Oh, for sure. No, so she watched a little bit of it. When I came home, I saw it. I was like, I think I succeeded at being somewhat cool dad. I felt my temper rising because I was like, I hope she didn't see shit. And I'm sure she didn't. Anyway, back to why I wanted to bring it up.
You're like, looked at the view history and it's all like real sex 9.
Well, no, that's what I wanted to bring up. So when was the last? Do you have HBO?
Yes.
Do you see any of those things anymore?
I think they're on the app or HBO Go or whatever.
I don't think they are. See, a couple times ago when I had HBO, so must have been. So I recently.
I think you have to dig. It's not easy to find.
It's kind of a conspiracy theory. I think they took that shit off of there because it used to be. So I resubscribed for the last season of Game of Thrones. So whatever, and then
which was really great, and everyone loved it.
Fantastic. I had been, and I unsubscribed after it was over, and then just resubscribed. So it was like maybe the previous season of Game of Thrones or the previous season of Westworld or whatever. I remember you could still scroll to the bottom, and there'd be a section that was late night, right?
Yeah.
And then maybe that went away, but you could still dig and find it. But this most recent time, I think, because I noticed back when I resubscribed for Game of Thrones that it wasn't there anymore. I think I went in and I did a search and I could not find anything.
Is it a possibility that you put parental controls on and then?
No, because I looked at it and the parental. Well, I can go back and look at that. I mean, maybe the default parental controls now keep that off, and you would actually have to go in and flip a switch.
But I didn't flip a switch the last time I saw them. So,
yeah.
But the last time I saw them was.
But if you've been,
I think
did you
it was
ever unsubscribe?
No.
Okay, so you never unsubscribed, never uninstalled. I've done both. I unsubscribed and then I took it off of my systems for a while.
But like I said, it's been years since I kind of saw them. So
yeah.
I think it was probably the last time I saw that they existed. I didn't watch any of them.
Yeah.
But I think it was when we first moved here, so 2 years ago.
Yeah. Yeah, and I feel like, but then whenever they got the rights to Sesame Street, so HBO, so Sesame Street, the funding at PBS or some damn thing ran out. And so HBO became the home for Sesame Street. And so somewhere around there, I feel like they just pulled that shit. Because as much as you can try to hide it away, I feel like, yeah. I don't know. And maybe it's still on the actual network. Like maybe if you went in and tried to tune in or whatever, you could still see it late night. I just found it really interesting. And why well, I don't know that people were thinking this. Why does Chris even care? I mean, I'm curious about media companies and how they sanitize themselves and whatnot. That's just an area of interest. But also, still working on this book that involves a character who is a sex worker. And so sometimes I will try to go find documentaries or whatnot that are from an unbiased or at least or if possible, sex positive viewpoint. And of course, all the shit on Netflix is very much like dudes who probably been jerking off to porn for 30 years, telling, the dirty, seedy side of how, anyway. Netflix is not a good place to go. The HBO were not a great place to go either, but every once in a while you'd find one that was kind of, all right, that's interesting. It's not just there purely to be salacious. Of course, they're going to be a little risque because they're real sex or whatever they are. Anyway, so I thought that was curious that was totes gone.
Yeah, well, I think it might still be there. Who knows? We'll have to go check it out right after the show.
Okay.
We'll update things.
Hold on a second. I was like, what is that? Is my?
I'm getting a phone call from Boston.
You're getting a phone call?
I'm not
Who
answering.
makes phone calls anymore?
No one that I would like. No one that's in my phone. Someone from the Boston area code in the United States, but I am not picking it up.
Well, my younger daughter, I think we mentioned a couple weeks ago, we bought we did a whole phone switcheroo. And so my younger daughter has a phone for emergencies. But people have been calling her, and she's listened to me. She doesn't pick it up for anybody that's not in her address book. But I had to go through and try to find... There are settings now that say anyone's not in the address book, go right to voicemail. But then they can leave a voicemail. And so I was trying to find settings to just either delete the voicemail or not even, I don't know.
Let them...
Yeah, it's a difficult... I mean, kids probably 9 years old shouldn't have phones. But for emergencies, my wife and I have obviously made that call. I just wish there was even more sort of security to keep her safe.
Yeah, I mean, like, there's I think the biggest thing that I've been getting as far as spam calls is been at work, and it'll be like somebody from like it'll allege it's from like Boston or something like, but I imagine it's just like being what is it, spoofed? Is that what they call it?
Yes. Yep.
I think it's just spoofing a Boston number, and just it's like a weird, like, I'm assuming Chinese. I'm not 100% sure.
Right.
But they leave a message in that particular language, and I'm like, okay, cool.
That happened to my mom within the last week or so, and scared the shit out of her because they spoofed. It was either my brother or one of my two kids. So she, and maybe it was, I don't know, I forget what the timing was. Maybe it was somebody who had just been in the car or something. And so anyway, so she gets a spam phone call that somehow is able to spoof looking like somebody that she'd be worried about. And, yeah. So
I think I saw like a 60 Minutes or something on that, and like the person that was on there, he spoofed the interviewer's number to call his mother.
Yeah.
And so he did that.
Right.
And pretended to be her son and asked for her social security number. He needed it for something.
Oh, Jesus.
And she assumed it was him,
right,
and gave it to him. And of course they bleeped it on the news program,
right,
but it was like, that's how fucking easy it is.
Yeah. It you do all of this security around your passwords and shit on your computer, but social engineering, social hacking is 10 times more dangerous.
Yeah, I mean, like there's so much stuff that you're volunteering on Facebook that like people can just, oh, you're not completely, or you're public on Facebook. Oh, I know all this stuff.
Yeah.
I know exactly where you are right now because you posted, I'm at Longhorn Steakhouse. Eating giant ribeye, baby.
The only social network we can truly trust, LinkedIn.
I guess, because no one's going on LinkedIn.
So was it last?
I think that it's like we talked about it because you were helping out one of your colleagues by in their class or whatever, right? And explaining one of their assignments was to update their LinkedIn profile, right?
So one of the classes I'm teaching, they have to update their LinkedIn profile, and so this week, the second part of the assignment, starting tonight after midnight, is that they have to connect with me on LinkedIn, and so I had to go onto my LinkedIn, and that was fun.
Did you put the podcast down there too?
I should do that. I guess I still got time.
Well, just I have it on mine. I don't know if you can say that you're part of it
part
with
of the company or whatever. Yeah.
I didn't say it was a company. I just said like I don't know what the fuck I did to say that I was doing it. But like it's obvious that no employer has ever like looked at it too much because if they had, they would have known that I did this podcast and perhaps listened to it prior to hiring me.
Yes. Yeah, no, so I had to go on there. It was, I not quite updating my resume. I went on and I couldn't even be bothered to. I think the last time I'd updated it, somebody's common wisdom was to keep the verb tense the same across all jobs, regardless of whether or not they were present. And that was not what I'd been taught.
No. You do past tense for jobs that you no longer are at, and then present tense for ones you are currently at.
Yes, but I saw. Oh, I must have listened to whoever that person was, and I started on the first job, because I've got a lot of bullet points under the current job, and I was like, I don't want to do this, so I just left it as it was. Everything's in the past tense. And my students can see it as a bad example. I don't know. And it did make me think, I have to save these somewhere on my computer if I ever want to update my resume.
Yeah, if you ever want to put your resume on like Indeed.com or something like that.
Is that like Monster in these?
Indeed is the one I think that you would, if anybody was looking, you might have the most luck.
Mm-hmm. Okay. It was one of those things I wondered, probably during. I mean, we all have these moments where we're unsatisfied at our workplace at one point or another, and so sometime in the last couple of years, I had one of those, and I was like, where do you even go looking for jobs anymore? And I was like, I think I did type in monster.com, and unless you am really fucking old.
Unless you want a job, like the last time I was on Monster, all I was finding for jobs were like, do you want to drive for Uber? And I'm like, why the fuck is this on your website? Like, people know that you could probably drive for Lyft or Uber,
right?
Whenever, just go on the website and pass their.
Was it an ad?
No, it wasn't an ad. Okay, it was a job posting for an Uber driver or a Lyft driver.
It's one of those things like Monster used to be. I think I interviewed at Monster. I think they
were in this town.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, I must have interviewed. I interviewed with them at some point. I think I got. Did I get to the second interview? I don't know. I feel like I did a phone and then went in. But they used to be huge, and
then they moved out of Maynard, and then everybody hated them.
Okay,
or at least everybody around here.
And so you're saying Indeed is the one where people? Well, you say if you were going to get lucky at all.
I mean, it's not about luck, Chris. It's about perseverance.
It's about luck. I have sat on search committees. I mean, it is about perseverance. You have to have a certain amount of talent, but at least in academia, with the amount of resumes that you get for every single job posting, there's a certain amount of luck, because whoever is reviewing you in the initial pass, it's about what kind of fucking mood they are in that day, because they've got thousands of fucking resumes.
I mean, Chris, you have a very white-sounding name, so I think you'll be fine.
I do have a very white-sounding name. Well, no, Earl Clark.
Well, you put E. Christopher Clark, so...
I really think I should change it I'm thinking about doing certainly not stopping my own author name. E. Christopher Clark had been around for ages, but I'm thinking about doing a different author name, because I think E. Christopher Clark, while it sounded like a great idea in middle school, sounds a little bit, I don't know. I mean, it sounds white.
Nose in the air, kind of?
Yeah, it sounds pretentious.
That's what I kind of was getting at with the nose in the air, but that's fine.
But I had to use the word pretentious because I have my nose in the air, because I'm pretentious.
You're sipping tea right now.
With my pinky held out.
Yeah.
I just don't know what an I played with it this summer. I played with alternate names. Like, what would if I had a pen name, or I changed my author name, what would it be? And none of them were that satisfying. It was like E.C. Clark or Chris Clark. You can't. You
just
can't.
Do an anagram of your name or something like that.
Oh, like I am Lord Voldemort.
Sure.
What?
Just call yourself Lord Voldemort.
Well, Tom Marvolo Riddle. I am Lord Voldemort.
I know that.
That's how it came to be.
But if it's not something that. You could just make up. With something like that, you don't have to make it up, because it exists in your name.
Right. This is true. I mean, I also did variations on the, how do you come up with your porn star name and things like that, and like Spider Tebow does not sound like an author. It sounds like maybe a porn star, which of course is why it's the porn star. Or Frisky Tebow, depending on whether or not you count the dog or my cat as my first pet.
I had family friends call me Pete when I was little, real little.
Interesting.
And like it's possible to take the letters of my first name and get Pete out of it.
Oh, right.
Because I'm a PH,
you're
Steven.
a PH. That was the part I was like,
There's two E's, there's a T, and there's a P. You can get, I of course listed them in the wrong order, but who cares? You know what I'm talking about.
Well, I mean, and when fucking Topher Grace came on the scene with That 70s Show, I was made aware of another version of Christopher that I'd never heard before. So like there's things out there, but I'm Chris. Like that.
I'm Steve.
But no, like I'll go into like a chat room or something. Or no, like a live stream. And because all of my emails and whatever, when I sign up, automatically puts E. Christopher Clark in there. And then people will say, can we call you Chris? And I'm just like, yeah. Like, and I'm not thinking like we're not, it just feels so weird. Like, yes, you can call me Chris. Nobody calls me Christopher unless it's my mom and I'm in trouble.
Do you get that every once in a while nowadays?
No, not so much. I yell at myself and call when I'm in trouble. I yell at myself and call myself Christopher or Little Chris. Sometimes Little Chris is an asshole. I go to a therapist who believes in the whole family. What I can't ever remember what the fuck it's called. There are different little parts of me, and one of them is Little Chris.
That seems like Everyone Hates Chris, that show about Chris Rock.
Yes. Well, Everyone Hates Chris. My Name is Earl. And then there was the fucking show about the paperboy named Chris who lived in his parents' basement when he was in his 40s.
Well, you're in the attic now.
Okay, yeah. So it's yeah.
But you're not a paperboy.
I'm not a paperboy. But I was a paperboy.
You have two jobs.
But back when that show was on, I think I still had the paper route, or the paper route was fresh in my memory, and I was like, I don't want to be 40 and living in my parents' house and be a paperboy.
And so
I'm not a paperboy, but I am living in my parents' house.
Well, I mean, you made John take over the entire paper route at that point, I think.
I think so. Yeah. So you could be Pete. Would you be Pete Woodbury? Would you be Pete Stevens? No.
I don't know. I've never written anything. Why the fuck do I need... Well, except for that one short story, blah, blah, blah.
You can't say you never wrote anything.
Well, I've never intentionally wrote anything.
You never intentionally written anything.
All right. Tense police.
Steve's never intentionally written anything. So, yeah, I mean, hey, if you, out there, listener... have an idea, especially if you've read one of my books or stories or whatever, for what my author name should be, or what maybe I could call myself if I were going to write like action thrillers or new adult romance titles or fantasy.
How about
fantasy? I just put an RR in my name.
How about just like Lumps McGillicuddy?
I like that. I could go with what would Lumps McGillicuddy write though?
But lovely lady lumps that aren't too fucking big.
Sir Mix-a-Lot got a I know he's not the lady lumps, but he does like big butts and he cannot lie. He did a promo video for the Cards Against Humanity, and I get their newsletter, and they announced to me that they had 2 new packs coming out, the Butts pack and the 2000s pack, and the Butts pack was co-created with Sir Mix-a-Lot.
Are we really becoming nostalgic for the 2000s now? Because that means we're old.
We are old.
If nostalgia is gone back, I mean it's almost 20 years.
It's almost 20 years.
So I get it, but it seems like
it's a little early.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I was,
Well,
I was grown up.
I gotta ask you nostalgia, and I have this in my notes. It was supposed to go one way, but maybe this question about nostalgia will lead us the other way.
Okay.
And it's a question about nostalgia about ducks. So no, you'll see. So you had a first time experience that had to do with loosely to do with ducks, and I was going to bring up.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
And I was going to bring up this other thing in relation to that, but we may do it reversed. So I got a nostalgia question. Did you watch DuckTales when you were a kid?
I sure as shit did.
Okay, so we were watching.
They did a reboot, right?
They did do a reboot, and my kids have watched some of those. But we were watching videos getting ready for our trip to Disney World, and there is a section of the Animal Kingdom called Dino Land USA, and I think that section is probably about to fade out, and they're probably going to do something else with it. But one of the things they've done to try and get people over there in the meantime is they put Donald Duck in charge of Dino Land. So it's got a kind of a Donald Duck theme. And one of the things that they have done is they've brought out of mothballs. Now you can go and meet Launchpad McQuack and Uncle Scrooge. Like, you can go meet.
Well, now that they've rebooted it, those characters are relevant again.
Sure, but it seems to me as like I don't think you can meet Huey, Dewey, and Louie. That bums me out. I think it would be funny to
meet those children.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe they'd make fun of me. They would probably be. No, I guess they'd probably be shorter than me.
Who are their parents?
Who were Huey? Oh, that came out in the reboot. That's one of the things my kids could tell me about, and I was like, wait, what? Their parents,
because
there's a whole
Huey, Dewey, and Louie are Donald's nephews.
Yes,
and
I have
he is Scrooge's nephew.
Yes. So
they're like nephews twice removed.
So there is, how there's a Wikipedia for Star Wars.
I don't doubt that.
Okay, so there's Wikipedia, and then various places have their own whatever pedias to show basically do the same thing.
Is the one on P called Urinepedia?
Yes. And no, so I don't know what this one is called, but there is a sort of a wiki online for the Donald Duck universe, and that universe does tie in with the Mickey universe. Mostly the continuity comes out of the comics, but so yeah, Uncle Scrooge is their great uncle, right, and their mom is Donald's sister.
Okay.
Yeah. So, and I think
who has never been mentioned? Well, I guess in the
okay, you give me the. I gotta.
You gotta look it
get
up.
Get ready for some loud typing. Huey, Dewey, and Louie. Okay. Huey, Dewey, and Louie are triplet cartoon characters. 1937. Character background. Della Duck, I believe. Yes. Huey, Dewey, and Louie are the sons of Donald's sister, Della Duck. Let's see. Let's go to the Duck family. Della Duck, called Dumbella in Donald's Nephews, born 1920, is the mother of Huey, Dewey, and Louie. First described as Donald's cousin, later referred to as his twin sister.
So I guess multiple births run in Donald's family.
Apparently, yeah. She made her first animated appearance in DuckTales 2017, the reboot.
Okay.
With her son Dewey discovering, spoilers, she was previously a companion of Scrooge and Donald in their adventures. Oh, okay. So she had gone on adventures with Scrooge and Donald. I was like, companion, and then I saw Scrooge and Donald. I was like, in their adventures.
Not that kind of companion.
Dewey and his brothers investigate the cause of her disappearance along with Webby Vanderquack. Webby is the other.
She was. I thought she was the.
Was she in the original?
Yeah, she was the I think the granddaughter of Scrooge's housekeeper.
Oh, okay. I didn't know if she was in the original. I knew she was in this new one, and I was thinking she was somebody that was introduced to sort of get girls to watch.
No, she was in the original.
Interesting. Okay.
And then there was eventually there was Gizmo Duck, and then there was what the fuck? There was a freaking dinosaur duck.
Oh,
unfrozen dino lawyer.
Yeah. There is a whole on regular old Wikipedia. There is a Duck family page. The Duck family. You know what? For the first time in a very fucking long time, I might put this in the show notes. Maybe there's going to be a fucking show note.
Wow, cool.
Maybe there's going to be a show note at horriblyofftopic.com.
Put it on the YouTube as well.
/254. Yeah, so I don't know if you noticed. I did go onto YouTube.
I did like the fact that the cover image for the one when we talked about Brian's birthday was the guy with the belly.
Yes. So what I want to say about that is the way that so we use a place called Transistor FM. That's what hosts the podcast and what then automatically transfers it over to YouTube. So I don't even have to do anything. It just does it every week. But what that means is I went looking before I posted that episode for a way for me to update the cover art like within Transistor, and it wouldn't let me do it. So I had to go on to YouTube after the fact, but then the problem is it only works as the cover art. It doesn't play throughout the entire episode.
That's fine.
So once you hit play, it just does.
I mean, you don't need to look at that guy's belly for an hour.
But this sounds pathetic, but a lot of our episodes on YouTube, we are still building our YouTube audience. Not a lot of them get a lot of views. This one got, I say twice as many views as the other ones. It got 2 instead of none.
Yeah.
So actually, that's more than twice, right?
Well, you can't double nothing.
Yeah, you can't double nothing. That should be the title. No, I'm gonna write all these things. You can't double nothing. Anyway, so I'm glad you appreciate that.
It was good. I saw it. I saw it actually when I was flipping through YouTube.
Yeah.
Because I made Becky be a fan or whatever the heck.
So
I don't know if she rang the bell.
Oh, you got to ring the bell. That's how YouTube works now.
Oh,
then everyone will have rung the bell and they'll have to fucking fuck the duck. I don't know. Like, it used to be enough you subscribed to something, and then everyone subscribed to too many things, and then they needed an additional layer of, well, ring the bell. And I guarantee you at some point, people were going to have rung too many bells, and they're going to be like, all right, so you got to do like, comment, subscribe, ring the bell, and blah, blah, blah.
You can ring my bell, ring my bell.
So I mentioned HBO.
And I mentioned...
Oh, wait.
The other duck thing.
The other fucking duck thing. Yeah, so I mentioned the ducks. Because I saw these, and I was like, aren't you excited to see DuckTales? And the kids were like, yeah. And I was like, DuckTales wasn't even my thing. DuckTales was my brother's thing. But it was one of those things where secretly I kind of liked DuckTales, even though I wasn't allowed to because it was my brother's thing.
There was a really good animated feature-length film that came out. I think it might have been in 1990 or 91. That I don't hear. It probably will end up on Disney Plus once that. I mean, what is that? Like in a day or two?
Yep, it's Tuesday.
Okay. So once that launches, I think that there was it was well animated, and I think
I remember this.
Yeah, it was really good. This was I think because it was post Little Mermaid, but pre Beauty and the Beast, I think.
Okay. Yep. So and there was that is one of bigger gaps. Anyway, yeah.
So yeah, I think that was the time frame when that movie came out, and I think I remember seeing it more than once in the theater because I enjoyed it that because I was a fan of the series, and so. But it wasn't, from what I remember, its own self-contained story. But it was just really good, and I don't know why people forget about it, or I don't know if there was some sort of legal issues with Disney, which is why people don't hear about it anymore. Because that's not something that I've heard coming back out of the vault when they were still doing that bullshit.
Yeah. Oh fuck yes, DuckTales the movie, Treasure of the Lost Lamp.
Yeah, I think that was it was really. I think it was well put together, and it was a nice, cohesive, and fun story.
It says 1990 animated fantasy adventure film based on the series, released in theaters by Walt Disney Pictures on August 3rd, 1990. Events take place between the third and fourth seasons of DuckTales. It was the first animated film to be produced by Television Animation under the banner of Disney Movie Tunes. And it was paired with the 1951 Donald Duck short Dude Duck for its theatrical release. I do remember that. Treasure of the Lost Land.
Well, we'll probably end up getting Disney Plus, so maybe I will revisit it and see if it is good as I remember.
Now, see, you mentioned the vault. I don't know if I actually read the article or watched the YouTube video, but I've seen this headline a number of times, which is that there's no plans for Disney Plus to have a vault, so to speak. So that it's not going to be that things are on there for a certain amount of time and then they leave.
Like,
the idea is it's always there.
What I wish Nintendo would do with their like online services on the Switch, where you have they stopped their monthly releases for the NES games, and they only had the initial release for the Super Nintendo games. I wish they would just have, I know that there's certain ones that that might not do that because certain companies might be like, yeah, don't do ours because we're gonna come out with a like classic collection or whatever, blah blah blah.
Yeah.
So don't put them on there. But just check with the companies and say we're gonna put these fucking on here or whatever. Like, and we'll give you money we'll give you some of the money because we have to because of royalties or whatever. But I don't know. Maybe that's just I just wish they would just have like at least every Nintendo IP. Like just put them all on there. Like why not? Like you own them.
Yeah, I feel like it's got to be a matter of time with a lot of these things, and it's just we are living in the, and I don't know. Sometimes I feel like this is true of our generation in general, is that we are like we get to live in the uncomfortable.
We are the
in between, the middle.
We all are a part of the Rhythm Nation.
Yes. No, that's going to be stuck in my head.
Miss Jackson, if you're nasty.
I am definitely not nasty. So what do I call her? Do I call her Janet?
Whatever you want to call her.
If I'm not nasty.
But we want to talk about the other duck thing?
Yes, absolutely.
Before I imagine we're
getting close.
wrapping up.
Yeah.
So on Wednesday with my colleagues at work, we did a little. They say it was team building, but it's not like we had to collaborate in any sense besides walk over to the Museum of Science, which is where they start. But we went we did a very Boston touristy thing and went on a duck boat.
A duck boat. Now, on the off chance that one of our listeners doesn't know what a duck boat is, could you describe?
It is a what do they call it when it's
amphibious?
Amphibious. It's an amphibious vehicle. So there's a guy driving,
right,
and there's a guy on a microphone that's basically pointing at things. There's the
Ben,
State
probably.
House. Yeah, there's the State House. There's the. Yeah. His big joke was every time we passed a Dunkin' Donuts, he would say, "And that's the one Dunkin' Donuts in Boston."
Okay.
And so he said it like at least 7 or 8 times on
say,
our limited drive around the city.
Oh, gosh. Okay. Yeah.
I mean, he could have done the same with Starbucks,
Right. But Dunks.
Dunks is
the New England
more regional thing here.
Right,
I mean, if it was a Seattle duck boat tour, I imagine
I'm sure
they could point out the original.
It would always be raining too.
It was kind of rainy when I was there, and I kept on leaving my umbrella places, so I had to run back in the rain to get my umbrella.
Yeah. No. So you would anyway. So the duck boat, part of it's on land, but then you go into
the Charles,
the river,
basically.
the River Chuck.
Apparently, it's not as gross as it used to be.
It doesn't look as gross as it used to. I walk along that river at least 3 times a week if I can manage it. And yeah, it doesn't look as gross as it used to.
And it's funny because he was talking about like the shot heard around the world, which didn't take place anywhere near,
No.
But it did start in Boston. Like
Yeah.
there was people getting word to the folks in Lexington and Concord,
Right.
Which started that whole situation,
Yes.
which was basically the powder keg that got lit for the rebel
of trade routes.
No, it was more like that was already fucking that was already.
That had already
going for a while, so there was rebels all over the place at that point. And this is when things fucking started.
Yeah.
And you just talking about that, but then back then Boston was not as large as it is right now because I think the city of Boston is the largest, or one of the largest, landfill projects
We are trash, aren't we?
ever. Like, no, but it's not landfill in the sense that
No,
of,
I
like
know, I know.
of a mountain of garbage. It was just like
Yeah.
they were filling in land. They basically dammed off some areas, and then they were like, fuck, we shouldn't have done this. Now, like, it's just a marsh.
Right.
So now we have to fill in this area. So they did that, and now that I think that became
That's the back.
the Back Bay.
Back
Yeah,
Bay,
yeah,
yeah.
And so I learned something.
There you go.
Yeah, and then, like, I think Logan Airport would be the second largest, which is that. Of course, they couldn't have put it in a worse place.
No.
Like, you can't even get there. Like,
You can't get there from here.
You can't get there reliably from public transportation. There is not a subway line that goes there. You have to go to almost there,
Right.
And then you take a bus from there to the airport.
The two previous times that I flew, and I flew solo, I did the red line. I did the red line to the silver line, which for people who not from here would they'd think, oh, that sounds, oh, you got a silver line subway. No,
it's a bus. Yeah.
that does have its own sort of underground tunnels at points, but it's still a fucking bus.
Yeah.
And that has to stop at a certain point to switch from gas to electric. Have you ever ridden the silver line?
No, I've always either gotten a ride or gone to a different airport.
Yeah, it's
Like,
it
like,
is what it is.
One of the benefits of living in the greater Boston area, especially like right here where we live, it's pretty close to both Rhode Island and to
the Manchester Boston Regional Airport.
Right. So,
which
like,
was back in the day when we first started recording, it was right across the river.
Yeah, so that's pretty darn close to both, like, from where we live. And so having that as an option to like, it's that for flights that would be more like East Coast flights. So if you're flying to like maybe I don't know,
Orlando on the day after Christmas.
Yeah, like going down to Florida, going to maybe Pennsylvania or Baltimore.
Yeah. We flew out of there last time. We went to Disney with my mom and dad, and we met my brother down there. We flew out of Manchester, and I think the only reason we didn't do it this time, I don't know. We have a lot of hang-ups around. We had to stop over in Atlanta that we got delayed on the way back the previous time, and this time we're like, all right, anything involved in the way that we got there last time we're not doing. So this time we're flying direct on JetBlue, not involving. Whose hub is in Atlanta? Is it United or American?
I think it's American.
Yeah, no, United's Chicago. So no American or Delta, whoever the fuck.
We're going to a wedding in December, and we're flying JetBlue, but that we're unfortunately going out of Boston.
Yeah, I don't even know if JetBlue has flights out of Manchester.
I think they might. I think they didn't used to, but now they do.
Yeah.
I think what was it? Southwest was big out of both TF Green, which is in Providence, and Manchester. Yeah. Getting local for you, kiddos.
Getting local for you. So anything else you want to say about the duck boat?
The duck boat was fine. My boss was one of the two people that the person that was doing the spiel for
the mic, the guy who was on the mic.
The guy that was on the mic. He was, or she was, one of the two people that was picked on constantly.
Oh, that's not nice.
I think what did he call her? Not a stick in the mud, but some sort of. A busybody, maybe, I think was the.
Oh no!
And then there was also a person that had won because this was the day after the election, or the election day. Last week. So I mean, in here in my town, we didn't have one because we had one, I think, in May for a selectman, and then like that was it.
Yeah.
And since there was nothing statewide and no federal elections, they were like, well, why have one? Because we don't need one. So there was no election here in town. I don't know if there was one in Chelmsford.
I don't think there was. If there was, I did not vote in it. Sorry.
You should. Those are the most important elections,
I don't
Chris.
think there was, because my dad usually wants to vote in all of them, and he didn't go out to vote that day either.
Okay, so there might not have been.
I had a very important task of taking 3 13-year-olds to the mall.
Oh, God.
It was It was a joy.
You should have taken them.
Joy and a pleasure.
You should have taken them like the back way and gone by McCarthy Middle School, or if that's your precinct. And
No, we were going to we went to Burlington. They specifically wanted to go to Burlington because there's a Primark there, and they could get cheap clothes. And there was a Disney store. We wanted to go there, which we did.
But yeah, so yeah, it was fun time. It was a good thing to do at least once. We got stickers that said I drove a duck boat, even though we didn't.
Aww.
They usually, like, once you get out onto the water, they usually bring up whatever kids are there.
Oh, okay.
And the reason why I brought up elections is there was a woman that won a city council seat in, I think, Beverly. And
she was on the tour?
She was on the duck boat.
Oh, and she got made fun of?
Yeah.
Oh, man. This person.
No, but
he
not making fun of, but he was constantly asking her questions.
Oh, okay. Got it.
Councilwoman, what, blah, blah, blah.
Okay, so good natured.
Yeah. It wasn't like, and same with my boss. He wasn't being mean.
Okay.
Like, it was just, because like when I could tell, like, he was the kind of person that I think either did do or still does stand up.
Okay.
So, so I think he's just like, when you definitely want to do crowd work in a situation where you're driving around on a dock boat,
right.
and so that's the kind of thing you latch on to one or two people, and then you constantly engage with those. So you're not like just talking to everybody. So I think that's a lot of what comedians do when they do a little doo-doo.
When they do a little doo-doo. Hey, that got blue. No, we talked about blue in the pre-show, right? We talked about being blue. Did we talk about blue on the show or before the show?
Yes.
I had two things I was going to bring up, but we're done.
We're out of time. We'll save them for next week. Leave them on the list.
Oh, I'll leave them on the list. You gotta have stuff to say about one of these.
All right. So let's save it.
Leave it on the list. Hey, if you want,
if you have stuff to say,
hot@horriblyofftopic.com. I tested it. It works.
Yeah, I got that email.
Or hot@clarkwoods.com if you feel like it.
The classic,
old school classic. And we'd love to hear what you want us to talk about, or what my new name should be. Everyone needs to get.
I think you should change your name to ECC Books.